Yeah, recently there's more demand for tape than ever, I have to say, especially for tape backup, again, because the cybersecurity feature is the important thing. So if you have a backup on tape, you have something that you go back to, and no hacker can access that once it's in your shelf or in your vault. And this is, for a lot of small and mid-sized companies, basically the only affordable solution to keep their files and their production cyber secure. Archiware is a company that does software for data management, which means backup and archive and replication of data.
Well, there's a lot of companies. I was just talking with Yoyada, who said that they do exactly the same thing. I mean, using the same words. What makes Archiware different?
So first, we are a solution that does backup and archive and replication in one solution. Then we do it on disk, tape, and LTO storage. And then we do it on a scale from basically desktop to the data center, so from terabytes to petabytes.
Who would be a typical customer? I mean, I know there's a range, but where's the sweet spot?
The sweet spot is probably mid-sized companies with 10 to 50 people that have maybe up to a petabyte of data. And then we have lots of departmental installs in really large enterprises, companies that we all know of. And they have requirements in this department that the enterprise solution that they have already cannot fulfill, especially ease of use, where editors have to work with an archive, for instance. Like Disney, for instance, in Singapore and Australia has an archive with us, and because the editors have to work with that and not the IT department.
Is it media, or will you back up anything?
Anything. We are also working with other industries that just don't deliver the same growth rate like media does. So we have, just to mention that, we have one customer that has written 16,000 tapes with our software.
16,000
tapes, and it still works.
And they can find them?
They can find them. They can find them. And
so what have you got that's new for us this year?
Basically three major things. One thing that would be very visual to show, but I can't show my screen here. We have now a visual stats of stats graphs of the backup data, what's happening in the backup, how much data is backed up. So we have
like a dashboard?
Like a dashboard, exactly. So a dashboard that contains the backup data, the archive data, the replication data, also the storage pools, how much they are filled and used, also cloud storage pools. And you can arrange that in any way. It's a drag and drop thing in the browser. So you can have multiple columns there, or you can arrange them left side, right side, whatever you want to do, so that the administration gets a lot easier, because then you have this one glance thing, one pane of glass where you see everything in a second, basically what's happening, and if that's what you expected or something else. So that's one really big thing for us.
Anything that draws graphics on the screen, I'm in favor of.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. Okay, Number two?
Number two is something that we had requests for quite some time, but now we can do that because it's a bit difficult. We can archive now to up to 3 storage pools with one job, which means you can archive simultaneously to maybe an LTFS pool on LTO tape, to one maybe a cloud pool, and maybe one to a local RAID or whatever you choose to do.
Now you're using the word pool. What does that mean?
The group of storage entities could be lots of disks, could be lots of LTO tapes, or it could be storage buckets in the cloud.
Is a server a pool, or is a volume on the server a pool, or what? How would you define a pool?
A pool is kind of the umbrella entity where you say this 100 tapes or this 100 petabytes of data is for the archive. So then it becomes the archive pool, or this is the backup pool, which is served by PFAP backup. So it's your definition that creates a pool. So this is the organizing entity for for units like disks or RAIDs or LTO tapes.
So a pool is not necessarily hardware; it's an organizational entity.
In the end, it is hardware. Even a cloud storage is hardware in the end. So in the end, it is hardware, but it's not the hardware unit. It's the logical representation that you group together, and then it becomes a pool. for a certain purpose.
Okay, that was the second thing. What's the third big one?
We extended our P5 Data Mover product, which was the product behind an add-on to P5 Archive that allows you to move around the archive policy-based between disk tape and cloud storage. So it could be that you stored it to archive on cloud storage, discover 2 years later, it's maybe a bit pricey or we have other requirements. Then you can move the whole archive to another storage or another storage vendor on the same category. And do that policy-based. So you can say maybe only the master files go from here to there, the rest stays where it is. So this has always been the data mover. But the data mover, we renamed it to P5 Archive DLM for Data Lifecycle Management, because we now have policy-based verify, so that you can say all the master files, please verify them every 3 years. They're sitting on LTO libraries or whatever. And this becomes the whole kind of the unit that takes care of your data forever, basically.
You're using the word policy. What does that mean?
Policy means that you can choose a condition that you can click together or formulate with a regular expression to select data. So maybe only master files, only files with a certain extension, only whatever it is that you want to select, and move those files around or keep them where they are and move the rest around, or define a certain age range where you say after 100 days they move from A to B or something like that. So the condition to select data.
You have a number of different products within the P5 name, but what are the other titles that you've
there's
got?
P5 Backup for the rotating automatic backup, of course, and then P5 Synchronize for disk-to-disk replication. So that's mostly for time-critical data, maybe production SANs or production NAS systems that need to be replicated identically to another open file system so that there's no restore necessary. You switch over. It's a failover solution possible, if you want to put it that way.
I want to get back to this policy thing. One of the things you said we could set as a policy is only master files get backed up. But how do we tell the system what's a master file and what isn't?
Oh, that's up to you. That could be the metadata part of a file name where it says master.mov or something in every file name, or it could be at the extension. It could be a certain directory that says /master. So there could be anything that you organize.
I'm not entering that metadata in your application. It's entered externally, like you said, the file name. And then based on the file name, do this with it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So we analyze either the file name or the directory or whatever you give us. And for a certain part of a file name, part of a directory name, or just a directory, or the age, as I said. So everything older than could be selected.
What is the biggest challenge you have in convincing people to actually back their stuff up?
I think it needs, first of all, everybody has heard about that they need a backup, but not everybody does it because there's always some more attractive things to spend money on.
Like lunch.
Or new lenses, especially. People like new lenses and new cameras a lot. And but we remind them of the cost to reshoot their thing, to reproduce it, to lose the trust of the customers. And for archive, it's also to remind them they are returning customers. They come back after 4 or 5 years and expect you to have their media really quickly available.
But it seems to me that you're dealing in a really difficult situation. Let's say, and we'll just pick Premiere, Final Cut, Avid, it makes no difference. I create the project in Premiere. It's wonderful, wins tons of awards. I'm thrilled with it. I'm going to archive it because I'm going to come back to it in a few years. So I archive it. But the plugins have been upgraded. The operating system's been upgraded. Premiere has been upgraded. Everything, and its kitchen sink has been upgraded. So I pull the archive back and I can't do anything with it. Mm-hmm. How do I solve that insolvable problem?
Yeah. That's out of our range, of course, but we remind people to actually, when they do an update cycle, like a whole production suite gets updated and 20 workstations or 50 or whatever get updated in a major way, not a minor way, in a major way, maybe hardware-wise, to keep at least one workstation in the old state with the operating system, the plugins, everything working, and just put that away. Because in a number of years, this might be the only way to be able to access that quickly without, reinventing the wheel. Everything's installed there. It was working. This is the cheapest way, basically, to do that.
It's exactly the right answer. It's the most terrifying answer you can give. Because suddenly I've got this whole row of Macintoshes or Windows machines that are just sitting there taking up shelf space in case I ever need that system again.
Yeah, but that's technology. I mean, we don't push people to upgrade steadily, but they have to, because the production software requires them, the operating system requires them, the vendors requires them. And you have to find your own pace, like you're also reminding people always in your newsletter, don't jump on the newest version that was released yesterday just because. No, if you're working on deadlines, stick with what is working and watch the update cycle. And it's similar with Archive. Watch your own update cycle and keep something away, hardware-wise, which is still working. That's the best thing we can offer.
And then hope.
Yeah, and then hope, yeah.
When you and I first met, about 700 years ago, one of the big benefits that you provided was being able to archive to tape, because in those days it was incredibly difficult to do. What's changed about using tape recently?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, recently there's more demand for tape than ever, I have to say, especially for tape backup again, because the cybersecurity feature is the important thing. So if you have a backup on tape, you have something that you go back to, and no hacker can access that once it's in your shelf or in your vault. And this is, for a lot of small and mid-sized companies, basically the only affordable solution to keep their files and their production cyber secure, because there are so many threats out there that you cannot keep up with them. And if you don't have a dedicated security department, there's no chance. And then LTO tape is something that you buy, use, and you're cyber secure. That's it.
How would you summarize the key benefits and features of Archiware to someone who is considering adding it to their tool set?
It has a lot of features in one solution, backup and archival replication. It scales from the desktop to the data center, so it can grow with you. And it supports disk, tape, and cloud storage, so you're extremely flexible. And it supports migrating from one to the other in the future, so it keeps you flexible in the future and future-proof.
Marc, thank you very much.
Good, that was a shorter one.